Okay, so we're doing, we're pretending to do a grocery check. I went out this morning and I was given my instructions by Beth, she who must be obeyed. And she said, just spend 1,000 pesos and get all meat. So I was supposed to go out and get all meat. Now, the object of this video is not really about shopping. It's about if you are an expat, if you're a foreigner and you're thinking about coming over to the Philippines, you will have certain concerns. Now, I don't hear these concerns being dealt with on what I think of as a reality base. I don't hear it, because usually the things that are addressed, the issues that are addressed are no money, no honey. So are you going to have someone who is going to stay with you through thick and thick rather than thick and thin? And usually, because the negative is usually given preference over the positive for some strange reason, like the squeaky wheel. You know, they always say that the squeaky wheel gets the attention. And this is true, because it seems that those who have something negative to say are very forward in getting that point over. So this is something that I see on all of the sites. If you look at any of the channels, the diverse channels where you're talking about boxing, weightlifting, bodybuilding, cooking, any of these things, you will see that probably the first comment in the list of comments that comes up will be from somebody who is bashing whoever is making the video. And then after that, you will see that lots of people are talking not about the video really, they're talking about the bash comment. And so you end up getting a load of garbage poured onto a load of garbage. So my point is that if you're coming over to a foreign land, you don't speak the language, and this is a reality check. Even though you can go out and you can survive very well on a day-to-day basis, going shopping, getting gas, talking to people, going to a restaurant, getting served, and all of this, you can do all of this very, very well. But you're not being understood as well as you think. So even though you may express certain thoughts, certain problems that you're trying to get handled, you're actually not being understood as well as you want it. Now, recently, I got it into my head that I wanted to buy a Jeep that had been abandoned opposite my mechanic friend's shop. And when I talked to my friend, he said that the owner had disappeared. The Jeep needed an overhaul on the motor, and probably other repairs as well. So it was fairly safe to assume that the guy had absconded and had abandoned the Jeep because it simply wasn't worth his doing anything. Now, when I went into it further, it turned out that we found out, by going to the LTO, we found out that through my brother-in-law who works there, we found out the name of the person who is the registered owner. So we went into the registered owner and we contacted him, but no answer. Then it turned out, when I went on a visit to my friend, the mechanic, and I spoke to his son-in-law, and he said apparently there was a balance still owing on the Jeep when it was purchased from the registered owner. So now it gets very, very messy. So I had gone to the LTO and I'd made a what for me was a very simple question. I said, what if I didn't want to make a complaint and say what might seem like a complaint about this Jeep, because they'd come and pick it up or do something. So I didn't want to precipitate that. So I said, what if a vehicle is abandoned and it's left for several months? What is the procedure from the LTO, which is the transport office, right? So that's the department that handles vehicles. Now, you would think that would be fairly obvious, but it wasn't. It was a what if question, which put forward a hypothetical situation. They kept saying to me, well, where are the documents, sir? You need the documents. No, I don't have the documents. Now they're thinking, well, why are you here? Because they don't understand the concept of what if. What if this were to happen? What would your next action be? I was hoping that they would say, similar to America, similar to Great Britain, where if a vehicle is abandoned, it's watched. The police watch it, and they, week by week, they watch it. And when it becomes clear, when the weeds start to grow up through the wheels, and it's obvious that it's been abandoned, then it's picked up and it's taken to, at cost to somebody, it's taken to a storage unit. And when it's been in the storage unit for a given amount of time, then it's taken to auction, and it is auctioned off for no reserve, whatever condition. See it as is, take your chances, no paperwork, you'll have to apply for them, and it takes on its new life from there. That's what I hoped that they would tell me, and then I would know what to do. Well, I've since given up on that idea because I have some other things that we are hoping to do. So, back, it was a long explanation, but it does tell you how if you come here and you marry your lovely lady, to me it seems a given that she will be lovely, because the Filipinos, they just are. So you're now, more than you know, you are now in her hands. Now this might seem like a big risk. Oh no, well, I don't want to be in anybody's hands. I want to be in control myself. And if you are like that, you will be depriving yourself of possibly the greatest resource that you have for living in this foreign country, the Philippines. It's a foreign country, okay? You're the foreigner, I'm the foreigner. Now, let's assume that everything is going fine. Well, if everything's going fine, isn't it? And we're all doing well, and we're eating well, and we have somewhere to live, and we have money in our pockets, and wow, it's just paradise, isn't it? And then what happens if suddenly your ATM card or your credit card gets chewed up? What happens if the phone that you have suddenly runs out, or something goes wrong? What happens if your car breaks down? What happens if they stop your pensions? I've already talked about, if you live here on a pension, every year they're going to send you a life certificate, and if you don't respond to that life certificate in the envelope that they give you, then they will stop your pension, and this is very likely. Now, if your card messes up and you are doing what I did when I first came, I kept my Wells Fargo bank account and I used my ATM card. My pension, the American one, went into Wells Fargo, and I used to draw money, even though it was only 10,000 pesos a day, which was inconvenient. I used to draw money on my ATM card, and it worked for quite a while until my ATM card got messed up. So, things can go wrong. Now, when things can go wrong, how wrong can they go? Whew, that's the good question, how wrong they can go. So, if things go wrong and you don't have access to your money, you may be quite wealthy. But if you're like me and you kind of are a little bit laid back and think that everything is going to go well, normally it does actually for me. I must admit, not bragging, it's just a fact. I expect that things are going to go well, and pretty well they do. Whether there's a mechanism in the universe that's involved there, I don't know. But back to it. So here we are, and you're sitting there and you haven't got any money. Well, one thing that is clear, unless you know some other expats who will loan you money, no one's going to help you, because people perceive you to be rich. And if you don't have to work for a living, then you are rich in the Philippines. Anybody who can go along, eat, have shelter, run a motor car, and have a drink and a smoke and eat well and all of that, you're rich, okay? But now, of course, now that you're not rich, you're going to have to survive. And the last video that I did on the groceries was a lot about surviving. It was a survival package. I only spent roughly about 1,000. So let's just say that you can't get to your money. When my ATM card fouled up with Wells Fargo, excuse me, and I spoke to a representative of Wells Fargo, and when I said, look, I've got no money, you've got to get your act together and get my card to me, because they sent it to the wrong address. And she said, well, haven't you got any friends that you can borrow money from? I said, I have money. You are not letting me get to it by your inefficiency, although I didn't say that, but that's what was implied. So, back to it. So here I have my orders for 1,000. Now, are we struggling? We are perceived to be rich. We live in a very big house. We are building an even bigger building next to us, which if you've been looking at the videos, you will have seen that we had a big throwing the switch and all the lights and testing the electricity and the power and the lighting was a big move forward. So how can we possibly be struggling? Well, it's what our friend Dean and Mickey call a back pocket project. That is, you get the work done when you have the money. And because of that, we choose on a personal basis to not be in debt, to not have credit cards, which is a whole other video of discussion. But we choose not to do that, and we choose to make the struggle a personal one in the home. So here we are with a box that is our effort by my greatest resource, Beth, to survive on the least. So I've got my nice little box. This was 920 pesos. She gave me 1,000 to do the shopping, to do the groceries, and said, just spend 1,000 on meat. So meat, what did we usually get? Now, I couldn't just get meat. I had to get some apples because I'm the only one who eats apples. Beth doesn't eat them. So we've got it's all meat. Now, you've got your calculator. You can calculate this. I'm just going to give you pesos. So the first one we got, pork chop, small pack, 103 pesos. You've got to count that as just a tad under $2. A pack of meat for 2 meals for 2 people is going to be $2. Take that in. And the next one, pork bone, a big pack, 100 pesos. Now that big pack will be more than 1 meal. I can tell you that. I'll show you the pack. The next one, a big pack, pork bone, 1 pack. Now this one is bigger, 148 pesos. So way under $3. I would count that at maybe $2.60. The next one, pork bone, big pack, 129. Pork chop, that's with with an actual pork chop like this. I'll show it to you. And that was only 99. I went back and I got another one, and that was only 97. A big pack for pork bone. This was my brief. Don't forget, this was my brief. Get all meat. That means that along with rice and a little veggies, we will have a healthy broth, soup. Beth calls it soup, but it means that it's been cooked in water, and we get the gravy as well. My mother would have said gravy. So the next big pack, 143. Fuji apples were 98, and the whole thing came to 992. Look, there's 3 pork meat on the bone, and that was the one. See, not even 100 pesos, and that's for one meal. And there's a lot of meat on those, and because they're on the bone and there's marrow and everything, it's a really delicious soup. There's bone again. A lot of meat. That will be for 1 meal, 2 meals, or between the 2 of them, 3 meals. Looking at the next, more pork bone. I put them into separate packs because that way, if Talit comes over, if it's all in one bag, she cooks the entire thing. Now, this is a lot more meat, and it's not that it goes by weight, okay? So you're told how much it's going to be per kilo. This was 143. So it was, let me see, how much was it? 0.702 kilos. So now we're on the third. Got one more. This is 100. This is pork bone again. And this one is the one that I said, which is like a pork chop. And there's 2 in there. So that for us, actually, would probably, along with the veggies and the rice and everything, do 2 meals. Here's another one. I went back and I thought, well, this has quite a bit of bone in it too, so we still get the broth, and there's 2 more in that. And that was, again, where is that? 99 pesos. So this, eating well, would be under $2. So that's what I've done. One more. And this one is very, very meaty on the bone. And of course the dog has the bones. So it kind of works out well for everyone. So I'll keep one of these out for tonight. So we'll have dinner on one of these tonight. And then the rest will come out in the morning and be defrosted the way that Filipinos do. But the point I'm trying to make quickly is that Beth knows how to survive on very little money, and little bits keep coming in, and we use the Raptor less and the motorcycle more, and Beth is out doing her thing, helping people to sell the property. Next week we're going to seminar for a license, and she enjoys it. So we are on a stricter budget, and we are surviving. That's the point. So whereas I wouldn't know how, as a foreigner, I wouldn't know how to survive. In this particular case, I'd be wondering what to do. And Beth doesn't wonder what to do. She knows exactly what to do, because when she was some years ago now, of course, it's when she was only 14 or 15, she was a working student. And a working student, boy, that's another way of life, because all they used to get was a few hundred pesos, and they had to survive on that. And she knew how to survive with very, very little. She would live in a boarding house room that had been sectioned off to give her a room which had enough for a single bed and a television and a tiny cabinet, and she survived on that. And she often went hungry, as indeed some of our students are going now, if we can't raise